the shir, the discussion is about, is davening a mitzvah min ha-Torah, or is it only min ha-Rabbanan? Is it one of the 613 mitzvahs? And also, what's a woman's obligation regarding davening? They have to daven how many times?
Why is that important to me?
Why is it important to you?
Yeah, whether it's one or the other.
You're asking what's the chiluk l'maisa? So I don't know any nafkamina l'maisa. It's Torah. It's
What do you mean,
academic.
613 mitzvahs is the daven.
Hmm?
The daven.
Is that one of the 613 mitzvahs? He said eight takanim d'Rabbanan. What would be the
It's
chiluk?
Rabbanan.
So one of the chiluk will be if you don't remember if you daven, you have to daven over again.
Yeah.
That would be a simple nafkamina.
What is it? This boils down to reward and punishment?
Hmm?
Boils down to reward and punishment?
But if it's Rabbanim or if it's...
one or the other, it boils down to reward or punishment?
You're saying whether it's the Rais or the Rabbanon?
Yeah.
Not really. At the end of the day, listening to a Rabbanon is also in the Rais, right? One of the 613 is also
It's
listening
from
to
the
the
Torah,
Chachamim.
right?
So does one have a bigger punishment than the other?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll find out in another 120 years. Which one's a bigger punishment? I don't know.
Just taking the edge. I'm just taking the edge.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to figure out what's more. No, it's more. It's a liminal Torah. There's a concept of kachim.
Yeah, it's limited Torah.
Yeah,
Okay.
not trying to say who's getting a big punishment, who's getting a small punishment.
No, but just saying, hey, what do we learn from,
What's the
so
nafkamina?
the bottom line.
At the bottom line.
Yeah.
So what?
Bottom line is learning.
One of the bottom lines that come out from it is a woman obligated to daven only 3 times shachas and mincha just like men, or is it enough just to say brachas or any other prayer? That's l'maisa. That's the main nafkamina that comes out. Mostly it's a geschmacka discussion that we're going to have. So which psukim do we have that talk in the Torah that talks about davening? So it doesn't say the lashon tefillah clearly in the Torah, but we have the lashon of avodah, serving Hashem. And the Rambam in the Sefer Mitzvos brings down four psukim that talk about this. Look, inside there's a pasuk mishpatim. Says va'avadatem es Hashem lekeichem, you should serve the Eibishter. Ubeirach eslachem lechaves meimecha, and when you serve him properly, and you serve him, then he'll bless your food, your bread, and your water. V'asirisim machem mikirbecha, and then he'll take away the sicknesses from you. You won't be sick. So that's one. It says va'avadatem es Hashem lekeichem, you should serve the Eibishter. What's this? So it doesn't specify what the serving mean. How the serving doesn't mean through doing mitzvahs, doesn't mean through bringing karbanos. What type of service is it talking about?
And there's no guarantee that you'll experience this in your lifetime.
And that the Eibush will bless you and will take away your sicknesses.
There's no guarantee you'll experience it in your lifetime.
The general
Could be after, right?
The general rule is that it's saying that it's talking about physically, about smaching your bread and your water. It's talking about physical. Hashem's telling you that He's going to take care of you. And so obviously there are exceptions to every rule. So I'm saying, and generally this is how it works. You pray to the Eibush and the Eibush takes care of you.
Davening is a positive thing versus not davening.
Yes.
I mean, let's go with the percentages. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. So this is the one pasuk we have. Another pasuk we have in Re'eh.
You do the best you can.
Mm-hmm. A second pasuk we have in Re'eh says, after the Eibush, you should follow after the Eibishter. You should fear him, and you should guard his mitzvahs, and you should listen to his voice, and you should serve him, and you should cleave to him, follow in his ways. So again we have another wording, you should serve him. So again, what is this serving talking about? So let's see, we have 2 more pasukim we have to see. In Veschanan, the third pasuk we have Es Hashem Elokecha Tiro, you should fear that you serve, and him you should serve, and when you have to make a shvuah, you should do it in his name. And one last one, which this is one of the most important ones, where we actually see that it's talking about davening as opposed to other types of avodah. In Parshas Eikev, which this is in Kriya Shema, V'him Shemaya, we have the pasuk of Kriya Shema, V'him Shemaya Tishmo Mitzvos I'll be when you will listen to, if you listen to my mitzvahs, Asher Neich Mitzvah Eschem V'yem, which I command you today, La'avas Hashem Lekeichem, to love the Eibusher, U'la'avdei B'chol Avachem B'chol Nafshechem, and to serve Him with all your heart and all your soul. So then the Eibusher says that He'll give you all these blessings, He'll give you rain and all these things.
Did any of the shouldn't Haranim bring up the question? I know you have in Shua, Shaftim, you have the Tidpaleh, Hana, Tamar. Okay, you have this idea of tefillah being right out there.
Yeah.
They say why isn't right out there in Torah, 5 books of Moses?
Why does not say tefillah clearly there?
It says right out there in the Shoftim or wherever you go to Palel. Why is it right out there?
You also have the Torah, right? Moshe davened to the Eibusher for his sister, Kelna Rafano. You have by Avram, he stopped and he davened. You do have it clearly, but it's not a mitzvah. It happened to be he prayed. How do you know that we're obligated to pray every day? Because that we only know from these psukim. It says you should serve him. So what does this?
Okay.
So that's just about this Balachana. She did daven, but you don't learn out from there that you're obligated to daven.
It's not outward saying you have to.
Right. Once we know that you're obligated to daven, so how are you supposed to daven? So we look out Chana, we see how she davened, and we learn out from there many different halachas about how you're supposed to daven.
It's curious that it doesn't say outward.
The straight out the obligation.
Yeah.
So the closest thing we have is the last pasuk. It says you should serve him chol levavchem chol nafshechem. Right, so you say, the whole time you should serve. What does it mean to serve him? So the Gemara says, how do you serve the Eibusher with your heart? I know with my hands like this serve the Eibusher. How do you serve the Eibusher with your heart? What's my heart supposed to do? So Eza Avodah Shabbalei. So the Gemara says, Eitz Tefillah. Must be that's talking about with prayer. What type of work do you do with your heart? That's prayer. I say emotional work. That's what it's referring to. And it's referring.
In other words, you should connect to Hashem. Not just say words. You have to connect as an individual to Hashem, not just not like reading a book.
Yeah, because that'll be work of the mouth, right?
Well, there's more than that. It has to be internalized.
Well, love they b'chol picha. Well, you should serve the Eibusher with your mouth, right?
Nitty-gritty.
That's to their heart. Which this ties into Chedesh Elul, right?
Elul, big one, yes.
We're doing Chedesh Elul, which the focus of Elul.
You know what I'm saying?
The focus of Elul is davening to the Eibusher, Anil Devi. So this ties in. So it's a special time to learn about davening, to understand what davening is about.
Absolutely. This month is major.
Mm-hmm. So we learn out from the 4th pasuk. So these are the 4 pasukim which talks about davening, about serving the Eibusher.
Okay.
So let's see the Rambam. So the Rambam it seems pretty clear cut. You have pasukim in the Torah that tells you should daven.
Yeah.
You should serve the Eibusher, and the Gemara says it's talking about tefillah. So it seems pretty clear cut that davening is one of the Taryag mitzvahs, and that's what the Rambam says. The Rambam in the first Ma'aner Malkin, number 1, he writes in Hilchos Tefillah, Perek Aleph, Halacha Aleph, mitzvah aseh l'hisvalo b'chol yom. It's a mitzvah aseh to daven, and how often? Every day. Once a day you have to daven.
Right.
And I'll tell you about Shenemra. How do we know? It says v'avadim es Hashem elokeichem. You should serve the Eibusher. I mean, Pi Hashmua lomdu, and Pi Hashmua, Halacha l'Meish Misinai, we learned out sha'avodah zeh hi tefillah. This work is davening. How do we know this? Shenemar u'la'avdei b'chol levavchem. It says you should serve the Eibusher with your whole heart.
Right.
The Eza hi avodah shabbalei zeh tefillah. What is avodah of the heart? That's referring to davening. So the Rambam says that. So here we learn out that the chiyuv of tefillah is a chiyuv midaraisa. How often do you need to daven? Once a day. Every day you have to daven. Once a day. That's the chiyuv midaraisa davening.
Once a day.
Once a day.
Minimum.
Yeah, once a day. That's all you're obligated.
Right.
Then the Rambam goes on further in the 2nd paragraph. Ve'ein minyan hatfilas min hatayra. But the amount of times you need to daven, to this we daven 3 times a day. That's not min hatayra. That's only midrabanan. That's only rabbinical. Ve'ein mishnah hatfilah hazeis min hatayra. And also the nusach, the words that we have in the siddur, that's also not min hatayra. That's also only midrabanan. Midraisa, you can have it once a day, and whatever prayer you want comes to mind, you make that request from the Eibusher, you fulfill your obligation of davening min hatayra. And also min hatayra, it doesn't matter when during the day you daven. Anytime you daven, those 24 hours, you fulfill the mitzvah.
Wow.
And then the Rambam goes on, and since it's once a day and it doesn't matter when, therefore noshim avadim chayavim b'tefillah. That's why ladies and slaves are also obligated to daven, because the fishing mitzvahs aseh shali hazman grama. Any mitzvahs aseh which is not time time oriented, women are obligated in. So you would think that davening is all about times, right? You have to daven in the morning, Shachris, in the afternoon, Ma'ariv at nighttime. It seems very time oriented. So you think women should not be obligated. But the Rambam says,
when you say davening, this is specifically saying meaning Shemona Esrei.
no, we're not talking about Shemona Esrei. The Rambam, we're talking about Tfil Midaraisa. The Rambam, there's two levels of davening. There's the davening on the biblical level, which that's not Shemona Esrei, that's just any request that you say to the Eibishter. You ask the Eibishter for anything, you already fulfilled your obligation on the biblical level. And then on the rabbinical level, you have to say Shemona Esrei. And that you have to do once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once in the evening. So that
there's a lot of confusion about that, because when it says in the Mishnah, Nefshim Chayavot Tefillah,
yes.
now generally in the Mishnah, when it says the word Tefillah, it's referring to Shemona Esrei, not just prayer in general.
So we're going to get to that in a minute.
Specifically, why they Chayav in Tefillah, because Chayot Rachamim Nibu. So that would seem to indicate that they're Chayav. And even though it's a mitzvah d'aseh, it's non-groma. And there's a lot of confusion in the poskim about whether or not they are chayav in Shemona.
So that's where we're going to get to that momentarily. So soon, right? Soon we're going to get into that. So first, we're going to discuss whether it's minater midarabanan, right? So we'll touch on this in short. So in short, the Rambam says that you would think, right? You might think that women aren't obligated because it's time oriented. The Rambam says no, because this davening is time oriented. That's only midarabanan. That's only rabbinical. But on the biblical level, it's once a day. It's not time oriented, and therefore, women are obligated, at least for sure as of now, on the biblical level. We'll see soon. So, and meaning that a woman, any request she makes from Hashem, she says in the morning she says brachos, she says v'hiratzin. She already fulfilled our obligation min ha'Torah. So we'll get into the discussion whether she needs to say Shemona Esrei by Shachris and Mincha Ma'ariv. So this is the Rambam's opinion that we have till now, that davening is a biblical commandment. It's one of the Taryag Mitzvos. However, the Rambam...
But that's only one time a day, biblical.
Yeah.
Rabbanim is 3 times.
Yeah. And so now the Ramban disagrees.
And it's not even clear that they have to do it once every day. It's just could be that they have to do it when they need it.
That's the Ramban. We're getting there. The Rambam says it's once a day. Once a day it's an obligation every day. And the Ramban disagrees with this.
But the more the better. The more the better. More that.
Right, the more the better. But we're talking about what are you obligated?
The requirements, you say.
Yeah. And so the Ramban disagrees, and he brings two strong arguments to say that you can't say davening is a biblical obligation. One is there's the Gemara in Brachos, which talks about there was a gzeira that Ezra made that someone after marital relations they shouldn't say any prayer or study Torah before going to a mikvah. Right, so it didn't last too long. It wasn't accepted. So it didn't. People still keep it that way, but it's not halachically binding nowadays. But the Mishnah talks about it according to that obligation. What are you allowed to do? Someone had marital relations and he didn't go to mikvah. Could he say Birchat Hamazon? Could he say Kriyat Shema? So the Mishnah says that you could the mitzvah things which are biblical, like Birchat Hamazon and Kriyat Shema, that he could say. But things which are only midrabanan, like the blessings before Kriyat Shema, that he cannot say, because he didn't go to mikvah yet. But then the Gemara asks afterwards, what about davening, right? What about Shemona Esrei? Doesn't need to daven? The Gemara says no. Davening is only midrabanan, and that's why someone who didn't have a mikvah is not able to daven Shemona Esrei, because it's not able to daven, because davening is only midrabanan.
Is that the final halacha?
Now what?
What you just said.
Which detail?
Because you didn't go to the mikvah.
So right,
The final halacha?
No. It's not the final halacha. So this was a decree he made. The halacha is that if someone, the base makes a decree, if it wasn't accepted, if it wasn't widespread and accepted by all the Yidden, then if it was too hard for the people to accept and it didn't kick off properly, so then it's not. So then it's not binding. So Ezra made this takana, and he made all these rules. But later, the basin kind of they took a look around, and they realized that it was too much for people to handle, and it didn't kick off too well. So therefore, they said that it's not halakhically binding. A lot of people do it nowadays because it's anyways, but it's not. But halakhically,
Easy, relatively easy.
yeah. So this is one. So this is one question that Ramban asks. You see, you have a clear Gemara that says tefillah is only midrabanan. It's not minatera. Well, the second question he brings, or we'll read inside in a minute in the third round of Malkin. He says that the Gemara says about Rabbi Yehuda that he would only daven every 30 days. He was Teirasi and Lassi. He was busy studying Torah all day long, and he didn't stop for a second. He wouldn't take any breaks. A person like that is not obligated to daven. Only once every 30 days, when he anyways took a break to review what he studied, then that's when he would daven, once every 30 days. So the question is, according to the Rambam, he's going to say that davening is a biblical obligation. So how could Rabbi Yehuda just let it pass? If it's only rabbinical, so you can understand that it's only rabbinical, but someone who's busy studying Torah so much without stopping, he's not obligated to pray. But if it's biblical...
Why would that take away from davening? Is learning the Torah take away tefillah to Hashem?
So what the real explanation would be is that generally it doesn't, but people who are on such a high level that they're studying Torah so much, their limit of Torah takes the place of davening.
At that point in time, not today.
These days, yeah, we say we don't have people on such a level.
People on that level,
and therefore, yeah.
To be yotzei on that level, not today.
Not today.
But then it exists.
Then it did exist. But the question is, according to the Rambam, that it's a mitzvah saseh to daven. How could, because you're studying Torah, doesn't the Eibusher told you to daven? The Eibusher didn't tell you you're exempt if you're studying Torah.
Interesting.
So let's read it.
That they were on.
Yeah. So let's read in the third Maramakim. The Ramban asks, Kvar Amru Rav Yehuda. We already said about Rav Yehuda. The Telsi name and the Telsi name in Havamasli. Every 30 days he would daven. If you say Isaac with Torah, because he was busy learning Torah all day. And what's the reason it didn't stop? Obviously, it's only because tefillah is only midrabanan. You can't say that it's minatera. So what does he ask? What are you going to do about all the psukim we have earlier? It says right? And we say and we brought the drasha that we said
But that's a drasha, but it's not short.
So that's what the Ramban says. That's what the Ramban is going to say, right? He says, "B'mashe darsha b'sifri," and this that the Sifri says, "L'avdei zay talmud davar achar zay tefillah." And then the Sifri darshans that L'avdei is talking about tefillah davening. Asmachta it's the asmachta. The Chachamim really is rabbinical.
Wait, I just want to get this words like from the Sifri. It says L'avdei zeh.
Is that Talmud?
So that means L'avdei
Limanat Torah.
Limanat
Davar achar zay tefillah. So I don't remember the Rambam brings Sefer Mitzvos. He brings down the whole lashon of the Medrash, but it sounds like it could be talking about both. To say
both. It's,
Okay. It's an interesting lashon. Whether if it's a Tayyig Mitzvah, which one is it? Is it this or this? After what's I don't remember the exact. And the Rambam brings the lashon more barichas of the Sifri. So first, the Rambam says first of all, "Tasmachta ba'olma." Yeah, and according to this, tefillah is completely midrabanan. Not on any level is it a biblical obligation. But then he gives another explanation. Or you could say, shemikal havida, that when it says havida to serve him, that it means that we should do these things when we're in a time of need. When does it say that we have to? When does it say that we should serve the Eibusher and we should daven to him? It's in a time of need when things are lacking, we're going through hardships.
Like you said, Hannah and Yaakov Avinu and
They prayed when they were in a time of need.
That when they had a problem, they prayed.
Right. That is somewhere, yes.
So he said to pray in good times also, to appreciate Hashem.
Right.
You should pray in good times, not only in
The-
good need.
V'hi mitzvah al tzar shetavi al tzipa lisek lefano. Right? And he says that the mitzvah of davening is for when the hardship comes to the people. That's when they're obligated to daven. So according to the Rambam, the way the Rambam, so the Rambam, we just said, he says it's a mitzvah to daven every single day. You have to request, you have to pray to the Eibishter. Whereas the Ramban says that no, the mitzvah is only at a time of need. That's when you have to pray. That's when you're obligated to pray. So this is the arguments. What's the Rambam going to answer for the questions of the Rambam, right? You have a Gemara that says that davening is only rabbinical, and Rabbi Yehuda would only daven every 30 days. So the basic, so Yosef Cairo in the Kesef Mishnah answers that he says it's not so hard to answer. You can answer simply that when the Gemara says Tfilas Midarabbanon, it's talking about Shemona Esrei. It wasn't talking about the biblical obligation. It was only talking about Shemona Esrei. Obviously, even someone who didn't go to mikvah, he would have to make some request and say some short prayer for himself. It didn't mean that the person's completely exempt. It means from Shemona Esrei he's exempt and he doesn't have to say that. And so too he says with Rabbi Yehuda. When he says Rabbi Yehuda would only daven every 30 days, meaning the whole Shemona Esrei, but for sure every day he said a short prayer for himself to fulfill his biblical obligation. Right, so let's read inside. The fourth Maramakim writes, Ein minyan hatfilis min haTorah. He said the number of davenings is not min haTorah. Ela bepam achas b'yim sahi. Thank you. Once a day is enough. Be'im mishnah hatfil min haTorah. And the nusach of davening is not min haTorah. And Masha Amru Bal Keri She'enu Mispadel. This how we said someone who after marital relations he shouldn't daven because it's only rabbinical. Meaning that he doesn't have to daven the nusach that we daven 3 times a day because he didn't go to mikvah. But certainly he has to say to himself a short prayer. Doesn't mean he's completely exempt. And he goes on further. The next paragraph. So to Rav Yehuda, when it says he didn't daven, meaning he didn't daven 3 times a day. Certainly every day he davened a short prayer for himself. So this is how the Kesef Mishnah answers for the Rambam. Now you could still say davening is a biblical obligation. So the Rebbe points out in a Sikha that you see between the Rambam and the Ramban, you see it's a different understanding of davening. According to the Ramban, you don't have to daven biblically. You don't have to daven every single day. Everything's going good. You don't have to request the Eibishter for everything. The world is functioning normally. Everything is fine. So I can rely that everything is. I can assume everything is going to keep going properly, and everything is fine. I don't need to request anything from the Eibishter. Only the idea of davening is only when things are not going right. That's when I have to request things. Whereas the Rambam has a different understanding of davening. That I'll tell you, it's not enough to. You can't just even when things are going normal, even when things are going fine, you still can't assume that everything's here, everything is going to be okay. You still have to every single day on a daily basis. Still, everything is coming directly from the Eibishter, and you still have to ask him for it.
Rambam will be full of Anshe Knesset Haggadah, right?
It's after.
He's after them.
Yeah. Rambam.
So if he's after them, so if they set down the nosach of all the prayers, you're saying the Ramban is going against them?
He's not going against them. He's saying that it's only rabbinical. Everyone agrees it's only rabbinical. Everyone agrees that the nusach of Anshe Knesset Haggadah is only rabbinical. The question is, we're arguing about what's on a biblical level. What is your obligation?
Where does it say in biblical you have to pray 1 time a day?
So we have a few psukim. We have the 2 famous ones is V'avatam es Hashem le'kechem. You should serve the Eibishter. And we have another pasuk in Kriya Shema. We say Ula'avdei b'chol levavchem. You should serve the Eibishter with all your heart. So we learn out from there. How do you serve the Eibishter with your heart? That's referring to prayer. That's how.
But where does it say one time? Does it say 1 time? Or?
No, so it doesn't say.
It doesn't
1 time.
say. It doesn't specify.
So where do we get that from? So the Kesef Mishnah explains that when else are you going to do it? So the Ramban understands that it doesn't give you time. So the Ramban says that it means only whenever in a time of need. The Rambam says no, it means once a day. So it doesn't specify. That's why there's room for argument.
But could it be more than 1 time a day? Not specific, not being specific.
That would be hard to say because it should have told you something. It sounds like a general.
I mean, nobody does it say, Rambam is saying 1 time a day.
No one, I haven't seen anyone saying
more
that
than
there's,
1
that
time?
there's a bit obligation to have more than
So
one.
it's minimum 1 time, but if the person wants, they can pray more than 1 time.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right.
There's also this famous story, right? I don't remember who I was with, that he used to daven before his shamash would bring in the food for it to eat. He would fall and he would say, praise the Eibush. He says,
Who would say this?
Can you? I don't remember the name. It's a famous story. They even have a song about it.
Maybe Rab Hamnuna.
I think, or is it Shana? Probably it was more recent, the past few hundred years.
Rab Hamnuna.
He's from the Gemara.
Right.
I think I heard it with one of the more recent tzaddikim from the past few hundred years that he would before they bring him the food he would ask him Rabbeinu Shleilim, please I'm hungry, I need to eat, please feed me. And then on cue his servant his worker would bring in the food, and he got a bit fed up with it. He said, I bring in the food to you every day, why are you asking me to come feed you? So one day he decided he's gonna shovel us, and he's not gonna bring him the food. So it just turns out to be that the day beforehand, someone came in asking for a blessing because his wife was in labor and it wasn't turning out too well.
Yeah.
She asked him for a blessing, so he gave him a blessing, and it turned out, and thank God, the labor went well, and they had the child. So the next day, while the time came for him to eat his meal, so he turns to the Eibush, he says, Eibush, can I please have some food to eat? And the shamash walks in. He says, "Sorry, there's no food for you today." He says he's not feeding him. So so that second, the door, there's a knock on the door, and the person who came yesterday asking for blessing comes in with a tray of food. So thank you
Perfect.
for the blessing that he had the day before.
Ah, beautiful.
So I was saying,
There's the answer.
So you see, right? So it fits very nicely with the Rambam's mahalach that even when things are going normal, things are going fine, you still can't take things for granted. And you have to realize on a daily basis everything's coming for the Eibush, and you have to ask him.
That's for sure.
And
that's real.
so that's regarding the argument. That's the argument of how when is the biblical obligation to daven. So there's an interesting question that the Rebbe brings up as in a sicha, that if you think about it, it's interesting that the fact that the Ramban says that it's not an obligation to daven every single day, because really the whole heart of Yiddishkeit, the whole heart of the Torah Mitzvos, it's in the davening. Without your davening, you just do the Mitzvos. You just do the Mitzvos with every day without putting any heart into it. It's lifeless. The whole life behind the whole life and all the emotion. It comes from the davening. You talk to the Eibush, you pray to him, you have a relationship with him.
You have to connect.
So how does it make sense to say that is not a biblical obligation? Something so important. Why is that not one of the 613 mitzvahs? So he points. The Rebbe points out, and brings from Bakutei Torah, the Alter Rebbe compares it to. So Rebbe says like this, that some
Is
things.
this in our list? It's not in our list.
Yeah, it's on the fifth Maramakim. The Bakutei Torah.
Number 5.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say number 5.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry.
Then he says that to the contrary, the reason it's not counted is because of its importance. The mitzvahs is like the body of the person, and then there's something deeper, which is the life of the person. So the mitzvahs, that's like the body, and that's like the body of those things. So the body that you count is just like you have Remach Eidorim, 248 limbs, and the Shasa, and 365 sinews, Gidden. So too, the Torah also split up like the body, but tefillah, that's the life force behind it. That's what gives life to all the mitzvahs. So that's why it's not counted as the mitzvahs, because that's the life of all the mitzvahs. And the Alter Rebbe in Likutei Torah brings you see such a chiluk in halacha, that in halacha it talks about the different limbs of a person's body, but the spinal cord is not counted as one of the limbs. It says why? Because you see, it's not a limb. That's what holds up the whole body. That's what makes the whole body function. It's a step higher than the than all the limbs. And fifth Maramakin, the author writes, "V'hine avida shebelev zehu tefillah." It's davening. V'hider abanan ve'ini meminin mitzvos. It's not counted as one of the mitzvos. And he writes a mashal v'hi kamashal achut hashidra. Just like the spinal cord, shehu hamaymidu makaymis hayvanim. It's what holds up the whole body. Even though it's not counted as one of the 248 limbs, still it is what holds up all the limbs and makes everything function properly. So similarly, we see by tefillah, even though it's not counted according to the Ramban, it's not one of the 613 mitzvahs, but it's not because it's not as important, but to the contrary, it's something so high, it's the life force of our service of Hashem. That's why it's not counted as something, right? Like there's no commandment to breathe, right? That's what life is. Yeah, of course you're going to breathe. So it's not a biblical commandment to daven because that's what everything's all about. That's what the whole Kiyam Torah Mitzvos is. That's your whole connection with the Eibusher.
So
Obviously,
like the Rambam does count it in his count of the mitzvahs?
He can not as a daily, not as something you have to do daily.
No, the Rambam.
The Rambam, yes.
He also doesn't.
He does count it.
He does count
it's
it.
one
We're
of
talking, the
Ramban.
Rebbe's referring to the Ramban
Yes.
when he says this.
Yes.
So how would maybe it's in the same lane, but it's maybe a little off. But someone who would say, "I'm going to pray Shacharis, Shemona Esrei after Chatzot." Can he do that today and rely on one of these two great sages and say, "This is my prayer of the day," or is he breaking a law?
So for sure he's fulfilling his biblical obligation, right? Because biblically you only need to daven once is enough, but he's not fulfilling. He's breaking the rabbinical law. The rabbinical law is to daven before
Breaking the
Chatzos.
rabbinical law.
Yeah.
Praying after Chatzot.
Yeah.
We do say, like, it's like davening is not considered a mitzvah. What would you call Amudah to Hashem? Right? What would you call that? Amudah.
So one of the big questions is the Rambam counts that what it counts one of the arguments is to believe in the Eibusher. Right. So the question is also like how could he count that as how do you count that as one of the mitzvahs, right? If you don't believe in
counts Amunah as a mitzvah?
to believe in the Eibusher.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
But he explains, but the way the Rambam explains, right? The question is how could you say some mitzvah to believe in the Eibusher? So the way the Rambam explains it, that it's talking about what type of Eibusher. We're talking about it's talking about believing in believing that Hashem is one. He has the unity of Hashem, and he has no different parts to him. He's I think I'm mixing up. But
The emunah that God exists,
Mhm.
isn't that one of the foundations? Dash, you should know.
yeah.
What, the 13 principles?
Right?
So
Is it
where
the
is-
13 principles?
Mhm.
Of the Rambam has the 13 principles.
It's not one of the 13.
It's not one
Was
of
it
the
one of the 13?
What?
Amunah.
Where
In
is?
Hashem. Amunah and Hashem. Faith in
Yeah,
Hashem.
that's the first one.
It's in the
I
13
don't remember
principles.
them. Should be. Makes sense.
Is it? Amazing.
It's the first of the Rambam's first Gimel Yikarim.
I do remember. I don't say them every day. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
So-
now we're davening to Hashem, we're connecting to Hashem, and with Amunah, we're connecting to Hashem with Amunah.
Yeah.
So it's very similar. I mean,
You're saying it should be beyond the mitzvah. It should
yeah,
be
it should
beyond
be
the
beyond
commandment.
the mitzvah.
But
It should be
fulfilling-
it should be like
fulfilling
that.
two
It should be like
fulfilling two
davening.
mitzvahs.
It should be higher. It should be higher. than,
Fulfilling two mitzvahs. One is the emunah, the second one is the prayer.
Right. So
It would be, right?
But the Rambam does count it as a commandment.
in the 13.
The question. There's a discussion in Dechnet Sesecha. The Tzemach Tzedek has a discussion. What is this obligation of emunah? Right? It's saying why believe is something logical. You could understand it. It's why does it have to be a belief? So
It's something with it's something self-evident. Like for instance, could you make a mitzvah to believe that the world exists?
right.
That's ridiculous. It's self-evident.
So the question is so there's different.
And who created the
There are
world?
different explanations. There are different
Who
explanations.
created the world? Huh?
There are different explanations given that it means that to believe that God is infinite, or that to mean that it means to believe in what type of existence that He's existing, which is complete. That He explanation is given that it's to believe that He is a existence which is completely beyond our
And
understanding.
to say everything that happens in the world is from Hashem.
But it's not. But it's not
I mean,
on the actual
can't-
existence. That's how they explain. The obligation doesn't mean the actual. The mitzvah of emunah doesn't mean to believe in the actual existence of Hashem, because that's something which you could understand logically. What it means is to believe the type of existence of
For
Hashem.
the
So it's something
individual,
which is
for the
completely
individual
beyond
to
us.
have that connection of Amunah, for each yid to have that connection, that has to be developed, I believe. You can't just say, "Oh, I have Amunah." It has to be developed from the individual.
Right. So you're talking about a deeper level.
Yeah, talking about
yes.
talking about a deeper level. Yes.
So getting back to the discussion about davening.
I think it's very important. I think it's very important.
Yes, certainly.
Well, excuse me, with the permission of the rabbi, I just want to say, we all know it's important, but they're discussing here, this is an academic discussion, if it's counted as one of the Tariq mitzvahs, or if it's an obligation.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't mean to take
you know
away
what I
from
mean?
the.
Yeah.
I don't mean to
You know
take
what I'm
away
saying?
from
So-
the.
I mean, I'm just...
So let's go to bring something.
No, even the Rambam, when he talks in the Yud Gimel principles, the 13 principles, but that's a separate thing from his Sefer Mitzvahs, from his list of the mitzvahs.
Yeah, it's separate.
This is-
Yeah,
these
I
are
don't
all
mean to take
different,
away
you know,
from
it's
this.
different
From your,
theoretical...
the side points I'm bringing
Yeah,
out.
certainly.
Yeah.
So getting back to what we brought up before, how many times is a woman obligated to daven every day? So we have a Mishnah, which we brought up before, in the 6 Maramakim in Brachos. The Mishnah says, Nashim va'avadim u'ktanim, women, servants and children, they're p'turim miKriyas Shema, they're exempt from Kriyas Shema and Tefillin, right, because they are time-oriented mitzvahs. V'chayavim b'tefillah, and they're obligated to daven.
So a master has to give his slave that
Time
time.
to daven.
He's obligated to give him that time.
Yeah. Yes, he has to let him daven. He has to let him fulfill his commandments. So what type of tefillah is this referring to? Is this referring to just a regular request on a biblical level, or is this talking about Shemona Esrei 3 times a day? So, according to the Rambam, that biblically you're only obligated to daven once a day. So you could say, so there's no reason to say that this is referring to Shemona Esrei. You could say the Mishnah is only talking about on a biblical level. You have to daven daily. Daily, you are obligated to daven daily. And this is what a lot, or maybe most of the women rely on nowadays. That they're busy with their kids. They don't have time to daven Shachris and Mincha every day, so they just say brachos or whichever prayer they have time to say in the morning. They rely on the Rambam. So according to the Rambam, the Mishnah doesn't say that they have to daven Shemona Esrei, and any prayer could be enough. However, according to the Ramban says that there is no daily obligation to daven, not biblically. There's only a rabbinical obligation to daven. And that so obviously, when it says that women are obligated to daven, it could only be talking, they're obligated to daven daily, that could only be talking about the rabbinical obligation. Because that's the only obligation there is. And that rabbinical obligation is to daven a few times a day. You have to daven Shachris, Mincha, Shemona, you have to daven Shemona Esrei. So according to the Ramban, women are obligated to daven not only once a day, any request that they say. They have to daven the actual Shemona Esrei, like Shachris and Mincha.
Wait, the Ramban?
According to the Ramban.
Because he's the one that says you don't have to daven altogether in a
Rabbinically, biblically, but that ends up being a chumrah, even though he's being makel, because he's saying biblically you don't need to daven, but it ends up being a chumrah. Why? Well, how's that end up being a chumrah?
Why?
Because the Mishnah says that women are obligated to daven every day.
Okay.
So which obligation is that talking about? According to the Ramban, there's only one obligation to daven, daily obligation to daven, which
And
that is the rabbinical,
That's the Rabbanan.
the tefillah Rabbanan, which is Shemona Esrei, and a few times a day.
I see what you're saying.
So that's the only thing you can
It
be
looks
talking
like
about.
he's being lenient, but it ends up that it's
Yeah, it's both. On one hand, it's being lenient, it's only with Rabbanan. On the other hand, you have a stringency that women are obligated to daven a few times a day. Whereas according to the Rambam, that there are two levels of tefillah. There's a biblical level and a daily. There are two levels of tefillah, biblically and rabbinically. So you say the Mishnah is only talking about on a biblical level. Who says talking about on a biblical level? Rabbinical. So let's read. The Alter Rebbe brings down Lashon. We'll read the Lashon Alter Rebbe. He brings down this machlekes that in the 7th Maramakim, Siman Kuvav. Alter writes, according to this svara of the Rambam, that mitzvah that minatei only obligated to daven once a day. Nagu reiv nashim, most women are noig shein mispaling nishmana esrei b'tmitos. They don't daven constantly shmana esrei every day, shachar v'erev in the morning and the evening. The fishay meres miyad that they give some chanetila. So because right away in the morning after they wash their hands, they say some sort of request. You exempt your obligation with this. It could be Chacham, they don't obligate them to do anymore. So this is what most of the ladies rely on when that they don't have time to daven a few times a day. They just say whatever request they're able to, and that's it. But out there brings down, so that's the Ramban. But the Alter Rebbe continues, there's opinion that says, which is the Ramban, that to begin with, the whole takana is only midrabanan. Even though it's man grama, the chiyuv of davening 3 times a day. So why did Chachamim sakin this chiyuv also for ladies? Still, afapikin chayvu oisem b'tefillah shachris and mincha. But they obligated them in shachris and mincha. Hayu tefillah hi bakashas rachmin. Since it's bakashas rachmin, davening is asking for mercy from the Eibishter, and that's something that everyone needs, man and lady alike. That's therefore the Chachamim obligated ladies just like men. Even though normally time-oriented mitzvahs they're exempt from, still according to the Ramban they're still obligated to daven shachris and mincha, even though it's time-oriented, because you're asking for mercy. Everyone has to ask for mercy. You can't say just because it's time-oriented a woman don't have to ask for mercy. Everyone needs to make requests from the Eibishter. Yeah, Shemona Esrei.
But according to the Rambam, a lady just once a day has to say, Hashem, please help me. And that's it.
And you're ready to fulfill the obligation.
Right.
Yes. So this is the argument.
What does it come down to in the final Shulchan Aruch ruling?
So the Alter Rebbe says, that's our reading now. So the Alter Rebbe brings the argument. He says most of the ladies are lenient that they don't daven Shemona Esrei. They just say it's a short request. And the Alter Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe ends up a chen ikr. The main opinion, which is the ruling, the halacha, is that women are obligated to daven shachris and mincha. So on one hand, there's two things. So the main ikr, if you open up the books, what is the obligation? So the books are going to tell you that women are obligated to daven in the morning and in the evening. But at the end of the day,
morning and mincha,
shachris and mincha. Yeah, shachris and mincha, not Meir. We'll see soon, not Meir. So according to the books, that's what they're obligated to do, and they should do it if they could. But on the other hand, what is the actual minhag? What ended up being the minhag ended up being that women, they're busy, they have kids, they have to take care of the family, and they don't have time. It's hard for them to daven shachris mincha. So what ended up being that they started being lenient and relying on the other opinion of the Rambam to say any request once a day, because it was hard for them. They couldn't. So the main, ideally, what it says in the books, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to daven shachris and mincha. But practically it's hard. In a shas adchak, when you're not able to do any better, you can rely on the lenient opinion. And that's what many women do.
Why do they omit a minor?
Oh, so that's the next paragraph. So why do they omit Ma'ariv? So really, ideally, to begin with, Ma'ariv, even for men, wasn't.
It's Rishus.
It's Rishus.
I don't know what that means, but that's what the Gemara says.
Right. It's something which was it wasn't obligatory. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
You weren't obligatory. It wasn't. It was something. It was optional. But just it became, the men accepted it, that it became a daily routine, and we accepted that as something you do every day. So it became, so nowadays it's accepted as an obligation. Originally it wasn't, it was optional. Nowadays it's
It also would mean
it's
that
an
you would
obligation.
make it up in davening Shachar twice.
Mhm.
If you missed Ma'ariv, you would say
Mincha
Shachar
Shetayim,
twice.
Arvit
So
Shetayim,
we-
yes.
Ma'ariv.
So we do that, yes. You
So
could.
it's okay to do that. I mean, yeah, I'm saying.
Saying if you do miss it, that's what you do.
You know that on Shachar, so I don't
Only Shemona Esrei, yes.
Yeah.
The whole
Only Shemona
tefillot
Esrei.
is not the mitzvah
Right.
shazman grama, it has obligate special time. So
Right,
every
right.
mitzvah shazman grama, woman not obligated.
Right, but the
Can't let Saturday, can't
the Gemara says that because davening is different, because davening is, what is davening? You're asking for rachamim, you're asking for mercy. Everyone needs to ask for mercy. So therefore, that's why the Chachamim obligated a woman to daven, even
You
though
can
it's
set
time
the Tehillim.
oriented.
Why to daven? Set the Tehillim.
But
Tehillim is good. David HaMelech, they have all the davening in Tehillim.
But it has to be obligation. It has to be they made a but that's optional. Every people say to say Tehillim, that's on their own. Everyone can do what they want on their own. But the bare minimum what you're obligated to do is shachris and mincha. So back to this. So why about Ma'ariv?
For the men or for the women?
For
Shachris and Mincha.
so originally the only obligation was shachris and mincha. Ma'ariv was optional, but we accepted it as an obligation. But who accepted it as an obligation? The men did. The women didn't accept it as an obligation. So therefore, when we say that women are obligated in davening, the davening Shemona Esrei, it's only the original obligation, which was shachris and mincha.
Minimum.
Yeah, they didn't accept Ma'ariv as an obligation. Therefore, they're exempt from davening Ma'ariv.
When Sarah Schneer met Bes Yaakov, changed the whole attitude of davening by the woman. Because when she's starting Bes Yaakov, she put in the school to daven for the woman. And since then, I don't know how many years, 200, I don't know how many years.
So that is the main halacha, right? If you're in school, you don't have
But
children,
before that,
there's nothing.
women would not, before that.
Right, so the reason start from is because once they have children, they're busy and they don't have time
Right,
to stay
they
there to
don't
do it.
have
But the children-
That's separat does not hold water, because let's say that the same halakha applies, let's say, to single girls or to old women who don't have children.
So they don't have
It has nothing to do with the kid being busy with kids.
That's
It just
the-
has to do with the fact that they are
That's the
women.
reason why. But that's the reason why the minhag came about, to be lenient and to rely on the lenient opinion. Ideally, the main halacha is like the stringent opinion that they should have in shachris and mincha. But being that it was hard for them and they didn't have time, so the minhag came that they
He's
started
saying the
being lenient.
majority of women.
The majority,
It's a majority
yeah, it came
of women.
about.
There are women that are single. There are women that
And they
don't.
daven, and they
But
pray.
he's talking about the majority. Am I correct?
But it could be
but-
since many ladies which are mothers which were busy didn't daven, so it could be their daughters didn't see their mother davening, so they didn't daven either. But really for them, they didn't have any reason to be lenient, right? If you're in school, you're in seminary, you have plenty of time, you could daven, so yeah, you should daven.
But if women are not chayiv in Shemona Esrei, if you hold that, then it has nothing to do with the kids being metupal with the kids. It just it's a thing having to do with the mitziut of women. The Rizal explains why it is that women are not chayiv in mitzvot as among Ramah. It's something has to do with the primal.
Right, but ideally, but the main halacha is that they are obligated.
Well, you say the main halacha, but that's no such thing. According to who?
The Ramban, you mean.
Most of the Rishonim, Rashi, Teisvis, Rashi, Teisvis, the Ramban, the Haggai Rabbeinu
There's no
Peretz.
such thing as the main halacha, because
The majority of the opinion, the majority opinion, the majority of opinion, which is brought down Shulchan Aruch, is that women are obligated
in what?
in davening shachris and mincha,
Shemona
Shemona Esrei. The majority of the Rishonim hold that they are obligated.
I don't want to get involved in that.
I'm telling you what it says. The majority of the Rishonim hold that they are obligated.
Okay, I'm not going to get
And that's
involved.
what they
I don't
should
wanna get
do.
involved in that.
Yeah, okay. So that's regarding a woman's obligation. So now going back to the argument of so there's a medrash which talks about well, also lovely. Are we when Mashiach comes? Are we still going to be obligated? Are we still going to be davening? Are we still going to need to daven when Mashiach comes? And we're going to read this medrash, and it's going to bring us back to the argument of the Ramban and the Rambam, whether it's a biblical obligation to daven every day. Let's see.
Before we say that, when Bet HaMikdash was Kaim, they didn't have tefillot?
So in the Bayis Sheni, the Gemara says that by Bayis Sheni, it gives over what the schedule was like during Yom Tif, and it says they did daven. They did daven during the Bayis Sheni.
I think this is like the law were at the beginning of Bayis Sheni.
They met.
They davened them. So let's see the medrash. There's a medrash in Vayikra Rabbah, the 8th Maramakim. It says, Rab Pinchas, Rab Levi, Rab Yechanan, the Shem, Rab Menachem de Galia. They said that La'aseh Lavai Kol HaKarbanis B'Teilim. La'aseh Lavai, all the karbanis are going to be bottled. People aren't going to be bringing sacrifices anymore. The karban teida in a bottle. But the carbon of things isn't going to be bottled. Why? Because meaning the carbonas for doing averis, ka'asham and chatos, which he did avera, that's not going to be around anymore because people aren't going to be doing averis. We're not going to have a yitzhara. But carbon teida, but a carbon of giving thanks, that's still going to be there because everyone's going to be giving thanks to the Eivir when Mashiach comes and we have the Beis HaMikdash. And it goes on further.
Okay, now
Kol hatfilis b'teilis, all the prayers are going to be bottled. We're not going to do the Satan anymore. Ha'haida in a b'teil. But the tefillah of Haida, thanks to the Eivir, that prayer is not going to be bottled.
Hodad la korban toda. The same korban toda not battle. Hodad not battle.
Right. And why?
All these statements in the Talmud about such and such this was going to be batel and all that.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, if not probably, I would say probably impossible even to understand what it really means.
Right, but we're not getting there. This doesn't.
You say that it says.
We're not. You're right, but we're not getting into that discussion. This doesn't get into that discussion, right? Because the obvious question is, how can you say you're not going to daven anymore?
How can you say
there's a biblical obligation?
How can you say
Torah and Mitzvos is going to change, right? How could he say that and this is going to be bottled? It's a biblical obligation to daven. To read what the Eitz Yosef on the Medrash explains, it says, "Kol tefillas b'teilos." What does it mean it's going to be bottled? Shleit starch leisvadol. We're not going to need to daven chas v'shalom al izach tzarei chaylim. Right? When do you have to daven? According to, so he seems to be going with the understanding of the Ramban. According to the Ramban, the obligation to daven is only at a time of need, when things are not going well. So if so, when Mashiach comes, it's going to be good times. We're not going to have any hardships. So there is going to be no obligation to daven biblically because we're going to have everything we need.
That works with the tefillah, but what about korbanot?
Korban, no, but the Gemara, the Medrash talks about korban of asham and chatos. People, one means it's going to be bottled.
All korbanot.
Not korban. Kol korbanot except for korban teida, meaning.
So what about the korban tamid?
So you read them first and they explain kol korban is meaning korban asham and korban chatos and asham toli.
Korban is to explain it away.
This is what.
But it's not what Chazal say.
This is kol harkabanas. The Gemara, the Medrash itself tells you that. You see from the Medrash itself that kol is not taken literally, right? Because right afterwards it gives you an exception. It says chutz mikarban and karban teidos. You see, there's already exceptions. Kol is not literally. Kol is not literal. Kol does not mean every single carbon.
Except the Todah, but what
except for Todah, but a lot of times, but it tells you one exception. So a lot of times, there are other exceptions. Right? We see that in the Gemara also.
Ma'ishar da Haishar.
Ma'ishar da Haishar. Sometimes if you. The Gemara, when sometimes in the Mishnah, the Gemara says a cloud. The Gemara says that it means except for this one. So the Gemara says the derech is that if there are a few things, there's multiple things which are being left out. So then the Gemara won't say except for this and except for this and except for this. The Gemara will leave out numerous things. It's not if there's only one other thing, so it's not the derech. The Gemara, the Mishnah, it would have specified it, but. You see, it is the derech of the Torah Shel Peh. You say a klal, but there are exceptions to it.
People will not be sick when Mashiach comes.
People will not be.
Will be sick, so they need refuah shelema. So they need to give korban, to give tzedakah for refuah shelema.
So the Eitz Yosef.
They won't do Averis, they won't be sick.
Right, so the HCA says now when Mashiach comes, everything's going to be doing Torah and Mitzvos. There's going to be good times. We're not going to have hardships, and therefore that's why we're not going to be davening anymore.
But it makes sense because Tfilas Haidah, to say thank you, we're going to say thank you.
Right,
because
so
then
the
all the
tefillah,
good stuff.
right, so saying thank you to the Eibush.
Only for good stuff.
Yeah, I'm saying so. That Tfilah is not the thing. It makes sense.
So, but the question is, this explanation works according to the Ramban, right? According to the Ramban, the biblical obligation is to ask for your needs only when you're lacking something and when you're in hard times. So according to the Ramban, it makes sense. But according to the Rambam, that the biblical obligation is to daven daily, even though everything is okay and you have everything you need, you still need to ask the Eibush for all your things. Yeah. So who cares if everything is going properly, everything is good? You still have a biblical obligation to daven every day. So what's the Rambam going to say? So you would be. So one question it boils down to is you might be able to say, what is the root of davening? Is the root of davening to asking for your needs, or the main thing of davening is connecting with the Eibush? Right? What is the core of the biblical obligation to davening? Is it connecting, or is it the requesting for what you need? So it could be both, and it is both. What's the main focus? So the Rebbe learns out. He points out. He makes a nice. He points out. The Rebbe wants to say that according to the Rambam, the main thing of davening is asking at the core of davening is the obligation is to ask for your needs. And this side is emotional. It's a connection and a relationship with the Eibush. That's because when you ask, you have to ask in the proper way. How do you see this?
Shmona Esrei is all asking for your needs.
All tefillot is Shmona Esrei.
How do you see this? Because when the Rambam brings two psukim of davening, the two psukim where we learn out the obligation of davening, right? In the Rambam, the first Rambam, one is he says, which and the next one, and you should serve the Eibush. I just says serve the Eibush. How do you know that it means actually davening? So the Rambam says that you have a second pasuk says to serve with all your heart. But why didn't the Rambam bring? If that pasuk is more clear, why didn't the Rambam bring that to begin with? To begin with, bring the pasuk that says lovely b'chol avavchem. Why does the Rambam bring the pasuk of Mishpatim v'avatem Hashem leikeichem? You serve the Eibush. So the Rebbe points out, if you look in the continuation of the pasuk in Mishpatim, it says, "V'avatem Hashem leikeichem uveirach eslach mechaves minecha." You should serve the Eibush, you should daven, and then the Eibush will bless you, will bless your water and your bread, and it'll take away the sickness from you. So the Rebbe says the reason the Rambam brings this pasuk first is because the Rambam understands that at the main core of davening, what's at the core of davening is bakasha sracha, asking for your needs. Asking for your needs, and of the b'chol v'avchem, that's secondary, because when you ask, you have to ask with derech eretz. You have to ask properly. So the next question you would ask is, you would think that the main thing should be, it's selfish, right? The whole point of davening is it's about me. It's about asking what I need. You think the main thing should be about the Eibush, talking to the Eibush. So there's some sichos where the Rebbe point says that the reason that's the core thing is because that's what the Eibush wants. The Eibush cares about the Eibush cares about the Eibush wants you to have what you need, and that's why the Eibush gave you a mitzvah that you should daven.
You have what you need in order to serve.
Yeah, in order to serve, but the Eibush cares about the gashmis of the Yid, and that's why the Eibush that's why the Eibush wants, and more than that you should daven. You're supposed to daven. It's because the Eibush wants you to have one. It's not because you're not supposed to daven because you're not supposed to ask for your needs because you want your needs. You should ask for your needs because that's what the Eibush wants you to have your needs. In order that
ask Hashem for your needs.
Ask Hashem for your needs, but because that's what the Eibush wants.
You want it to give it to you. Eibush wants it, then why do you need the davening for? If Hashem wants to give it to you anyway, what's the purpose of you davening for something that you know Hashem wants you to have?
Nothing comes free. You have to
You have to ask for it.
But this is the whole thing with the Nachash.
By magic.
The Nachash, Hashem told him you could eat dust. Why? He doesn't have to daven. It's like Rav Shalom says, I don't want to talk to you. But us, he wants we should daven. We should be connect, right? So he says, Bakasha Strachov, not like a Nachash that eats dirt. We need all kinds of stuff. So I'm saying, you see the point, what you're saying,
physically and
Hashem wants Bakashas Tracha. Why? Because he wants us. He's misava. He wants out Philly. He wants this connection. You know, I'm just saying from the idea
so you're
of the
saying,
nachash.
according to what you're saying now, I mean that the main point of davening is the connection, not so much the physical.
No, but you were saying that the Rebbe says that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants us to ask for tzrachim, right? Because he wants us to have those things. And so we're doing it. So I wanted to say, al derech zeh, the whole story of the nachash, right? Because what he's cursed, right? I mean, all the Sfarim say it's he gets to eat dirt, so you know he has everywhere, so he doesn't need God. He's not connected to God. All the Sfarim, they'll talk about this.
And also in the Shemona Esrei, first blessings are not for your needs.
It's praise. The first three is praise. Then the next ones are requests, and then the last three are thanks.
Yeah.
There you go. And so this is we're over time. This is the discussion, and whatever the last
We're
page.
missing one person, so you can continue.
But you should have both.
Okay.
You should be able to
There's
ask.
another very geschmacka thing. So this ends the discussion of davening.
Oh, we have a minute.
We have a minion.
Yeah, finish.
Finish.
Last 2 minutes.
Okay. So there's another discussion. So we've finished the discussion of davening, but there's a discussion of brachos. Before we eat food, we make a bracha. So what's the reason for making a bracha? So I found very nice four different explanations why I make a bracha. So the most simplest reason why I make a bracha for eating food, Avudraham says, as everyone understands, you say thank you, right? If someone gives you something, you say thank you. The Eibusher gives you food, you say thank you to the Eibusher. That's not the most pashta reason. That's in the 12th Maranot in Avudraham. A deeper reason, the Reuven Margolius in his Sefer Nefesh Chaya, he says that what's the reason you need to make a bracha before eating food? The reason you make a bracha before eating food is because food comes from the work of your hand. It's something you plant, you sow, you earn a living. You get it through your own work and your own toil. Therefore, something which you get through your own work and your own toil, sometimes you forget that it's coming from the Eibusher at the end of the day. You think it's Kaichi Veitzim Yadi, I earned it on my own. Therefore, that's why Chacham or Masakin that you should make a bracha. Because you have to remind yourself that at the end of the day, you have to remember that at the end of the day, it's coming from the Eibusher. Even though you work, everything through your work really came from the Eibusher. He brought this up regarding the question about the mun in the midbar. When the Yidden were eating the mun, did they make a bracha on the mun? So according to this, you want to say that they didn't even make a bracha because the mun, you can't forget it came from the Eibusher. It's pretty obvious. So that was.
Yeah, but did they appreciate that?
What?
Did they appreciate?
So maybe according to Avudraham, they should still make a bracha, right? Because they're giving thanks.
Send us the garlic and everything from Egypt.
So a third reason for making a bracha, the Bnei Sascha writes that he's also discussing about whether you need to make a bracha on man. He says that the reason making a bracha is when you eat food, everything in this world is mixed with good and bad. And when you eat food with the right purpose, with the right intention, you elevate the holiness and everything, the sparks, and you elevate the holiness, you take out the bad, and you're left with the good.
You bring kedusha into the world.
You bring kedusha into the world, and that's why he said that's the reason why you make the bracha. The bracha helps you do your work of elevating the good from the food.
And sometimes you make a tikkun.
And according to this reason, he also says you don't need to make a bracha on the man.
Doesn't it say somewhere they said Hamotzi Lechem min Hashamayim?
The Sefer Hasidim.
Sefer
Hasidim says they made a bracha myself min Hashamayim on the man.
On the mon?
On the man. And actually, he says in actually, who's it? Actually, the Rekanti, the Sefer Hasar he says when Mashiach comes by the Suda together with the Leviasan and the Shavar, we're going to have the man. But since Senas Haman, which was put away, we're going to eat that then also.
It'll be enough for everybody.
One other thing, the Rebbe gives there's a fourth explanation. What's the reason behind making a bracha before eating? Which is also a very geschmack explanation. That the Rebbe said, the Gemara says, anyone call hanen in the Elam as a blei bracha. If you ate from this world without making a bracha, it's like you were a moil. It's like you ate kachei shemayim. So as if you ate from the karbanos of the Beis Hamikdash, and it's the Eibusher's food, you're not allowed to eat it. So that's what it says. If you eat without making bracha, it's as if you eat from the Kadshay Shemayim. So the question is, okay, so now I made a bracha. So what? Because everything belongs to the Eibusher, you can't eat it. So now I made a bracha. It's still the Eibusher's food. Why is it not Kadshay Shemayim anymore? It doesn't belong to the Eibusher anymore. What does making a bracha help? So it says very geschmack word that if you think about what's going on, the din is that a kohen can eat the trumas and he could eat certain parts of the kachim. A Yisrael can't eat them. But the din is the eved of a kohen could eat from these kachim. For the kachim which are given to the kohen and the terma, he could feed it to his slaves. Even though a slave is a Yisrael, he's not a kohen, and ideally can't eat it. Since he's a slave of the kohen, he's allowed to eat from it. So similarly, the Rebbe says when it comes to what happens when you're making a bracha, what are you saying? You're saying Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam. You are our Eibusher. You're the Melech Haolam. We're accepting the Eibusher as our Melech, and we are his avodim. We are his slaves. Once you're the slave of the Eibusher, you could eat from his food.
It's neat.
Very nice.
Very good. It's cute.
It's cute. That's all.
It's not just all. It's emes. When you make a bracha, you have to realize that you're the Eved of the Eibusher, and that's why you're able to eat from his food.